Welcome to What's the Effie?
What the F?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of What the Effie. And today I'm very, very honored to have Rex Shippy with us. Rex, thank you so much for coming on. I'm grateful to you so much. And if you don't know Rex, you're in for a nice treat. If you do know, we probably are like, oh, yeah, got to catch him. So I'm going to start. I usually will talk about, like what kind of movie you chose and the adverts, that I put out. So I saw that you had chosen Twisters. And I'd like to understand a little bit about why you like that movie.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Effie. This is such an honor. So the movie, it wasn't necessarily a first choice, but I hardly ever watch movies. And this was the most recent movie that we went and watched. And I haven't been in to watch a movie for a lot of months now. So I don't remember movies very good because I just don't watch them very, very often. And this one, we went and watched it and I enjoyed it. I'm like, that's actually a cool movie. So that was why I chose that one. Just, it was one of the most recent ones that I had watched that I could actually remember what the name was and what the title was on it.
Okay, fair enough. And, it's interesting because it's a movie that is very much related to the weather and land, so I thought maybe that might be why, and also the unpredictability of it. But sometimes I think too much about it, meaning that some people really give a lot of thought before they get back to me, and they have like really good, like long, complicated reasons. But this is just as good as any other. So thank you. Hi, Pansy. Nice to see you. So I know a little bit about you because you have been in SubTo for a little while now. I'm thinking like a year and a half or so. Am I right?
Something like that. Yep.
Okay. All right. But for the audience, can you tell us a little bit about how you joined? Like, what was it that brought you to real estate?
Okay. Great question. So 3 years ago, probably going on 4 years ago now, some friends of mine, one of my brothers, kept trying to convince me to read a book. And I'm like, nah, I'm not a book guy. I'm not going to read a book. Till finally they talked me into it. So I read this book, but I wasn't going to go spend $10 on a book because that's how useless books were to me at the time. So I found a free version on YouTube and read it. And it really just changed all of my thinking about money, about investing, about creating generational wealth, and it made me realize that struggling with money is a choice. And I know we all go through our ups and downs, and we all have those times. But in the long haul, it's just a choice,
Well, wait a minute. You haven't told us the name of the book. We want to know which book did you read?
It was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay. Well, for someone who doesn't read a lot of books, that's a great book to start with because it's an easy read. And it's a good story and a good author and all. So yeah, I can see, especially in that book, how some people would say, yeah, it is a choice. It can be very much seen that way, especially once you have some authority over your own life. But before we go into that a little bit more, I think my audience is pretty used to me talking about the young years and, showing some pictures. And I will say that this is the first time I am saying this. No pictures of early years? Could you tell us a little bit about why there are no pictures? Because
Yeah.
even I have pictures and I'm ancient. I'm ancient and we were dirt poor. So talk to me about why were no pictures of your early years.
Yeah, growing up in my family, that's just something we never did. We didn't own a camera, we didn't own a radio, we didn't own a TV, we didn't do that. And my dad really preferred not having pictures. And it changed, later on, when I was 12, 15, 14, 16, things were changed. Things had kind of changed by then. But growing up, it was just something we didn't do. He didn't care to have a bunch of pictures around. He didn't care to, our family and neighbors and stuff, they'd be going and having these photo shoots, taking pictures and stuff. And it's just something we never did. He's like, I don't care to have a bunch of pictures around. So to really get the in-depth, I don't know 100% why exactly that was. Why was it that there were no pictures around?
Were there pictures of your grandparents or great-grandparents? Because usually sometimes families have one or two pictures of people going back, 70, 80, 90 years or more.
Yeah, so nothing in our house. My grandparents had pictures, and on both sides, and most of my family, on both sides, dad's side and my mom's side, they all had pictures and stuff, but we never had pictures in our house. Never had a picture hung up in our house ever.
What was on the walls? I mean, my walls right now, it's kind of funny, people. I have these plants that I'm just sticking up to, for some life to show right now because I haven't unboxed everything. I just moved here recently, so there's nothing on my walls. And for me, when I'm walking around, I'm like, okay, I know I got to get to that. I got to get to that. But was there anything on the walls?
Nothing.
Oh, so no
basically
artwork.
Nothing.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. That is a little different. That's a bit different. So, what about your own walls? Do you have pictures on your walls?
Yep. Yeah, we have stuff on our walls. We've Katrina had went and got like a whole bunch of family pictures on like magnetiles or these fancy, I don't know whatever they are, but they stick a magnet to the wall and stick the picture to the magnet. And so we did a bunch of artwork on our own walls. It gives it so much more life.
That's true. Hey, now we're complete for sure. And you don't have any pictures either? Come on. You must have some pictures of yourself or others. Come on. Or something, artwork, You
gotta have something, right?
Most people do have something, or they'll even paint on the walls, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So that is interesting that Katrina you guys are leading a little bit of a different life than what you were raised in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. So what was your journey like when you left home? Talk to me about as a child, since we don't have tell me, did you do a lot of sports? What were you like in school?
Yeah. So we grew up on a small farm. I have 11 siblings, so big family.
Woo!
Most people say you must be Mormon or Mexican. And I said, well, I'm actually neither. So
How about Catholic?
Nope. Yeah, that's
Saudi. Wait, I'm just thinking of all my students, who had like 1 million siblings, right? But the Saudis, if they had a huge family, they were from different fathers.
Yeah, not same father, same mother. My mom died when I was 11. She passed away when I was 11. So
that's rough.
It was rough. It definitely was. It was a big hit to our family for sure. But grew up on a farm. I was homeschooled. Growing up without video games and a TV and that type of stuff. We didn't even have a radio in the house, so we learned to play music on our own instruments or guitars and stuff, or we went outside and did our own stuff. We had to become creative and make things happen, whether it
Right.
was building ourselves our own bow and arrows. We built so many things. I'm surprised we're still alive. Just we just did things, and so it was a great growing up. It was a great childhood in that sense of being challenged to go create new things and having those opportunities.
Got you. And I remember before there were televisions. Sorry, that's how old I was. And the kids played on the street so much more. And of course, back then there weren't as many autos either.
Yeah.
So, it was a little bit safer, and everybody knew each other. And the parents, if one parent yelled at you, you get shit from all of them because they found out about it. That sort of thing. But, well, that's interesting. So, what about high school? Was that also homeschooled?
Yeah, I was done with school by the time I was probably 13.
Oh, okay.
And just went to work.
Where? Like on the farm?
My dad owned a lawn care business.
Right.
Along with all of my older brothers, they all had their own businesses by the time they turned 18. Nice. So I went to work with my dad for a couple of years, and then with my brothers. So just went to work at an early age.
Nice. And always in business as a family.
Yes.
Well, that must have been interesting. Probably learned a fair amount. Besides landscaping, what other kinds of things were they into?
Lawn care, tree service. So that's where I started doing tree service and became a tree climber. So learned that just by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the trades most of them were in up until about a year ago is when they started to branch out and do different things.
Such as?
So during the winter times, the lawn care, the landscaping, that was a slower time of year. So we would go build houses in the winter times.
Oh, nice. Where were you living?
Here in Idaho.
Okay.
So we'd build houses in the winter times. So some of them are builders, some of them are general contractors now. One's developing, a couple of them are developing a software and just all kinds of. So we've kind of branched out and started doing different things. There is still some of them still very involved in tree service and that type of work still.
Do they all still live in the same area then?
We all live within an hour and a half of each other.
Cool. So, how did you get into real estate? I mean, you got the book from your brother. Was he in real estate?
He was not in real estate. So
what? He wanted you to go do it?
That's what I told him too. I'm visionary, but he's even more visionary. So he came up with all these ideas, and he's one that's developing a software right now that'll be absolutely amazing once it's done. But he's wired a little bit differently. He's very much visionary, and he could see these things like, this is really cool. You need to be studying this. You need to be looking at this stuff. So me and him actually bought the first property together. So cool. Me and him have started a mastermind, when we were just starting. So, but he then ventured into software development type, invention type stuff instead of the real estate. But as I was working, after I read that book, I wanted to invest, and I started looking at the stock market. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how to do anything with the stock market. I knew a little bit about like building houses, remodels. I've helped my grandpa years back do remodels on mobile homes. And I would start noticing these houses around town that needed work. And I would go cut down trees for a real estate investor. someone who owns rental properties. And it just kind of started clicking.
Were you cutting down trees on his property?
Yeah, so I had a tree service business, so just cutting down trees for other people.
Got it.
And it started kind of registering with me. It's like, I'm cutting the tree down here. There's someone else that owns this house that's getting paid every month from it. Why don't I own those properties? Why don't I own those houses? Wouldn't that just be cool to own those houses and actually have passive income? I say that now because it's not
because
passive.
We know passive income is a lie. But it's more passive perhaps than cutting down trees.
Yes. Yeah. And I just started getting interested in it. The more I thought about it, the more I got interested in it.
Good.
And then I came across the podcast, like Bigger Pockets. And I would watch YouTube.
God bless them. They probably started like 90% of us.
Well, the book started me, and then Bigger Pockets slowly pushed me in the direction, but it was, to be honest, it was discouraging.
Why?
Because everything that I heard was I need to get a bank loan, buy a house, and do it that way. At that point, I've never had a bank loan even to this day.
Oh,
at that point,
that's good.
I've never even had a credit card. So I had absolutely zero credit and really don't have any credit as of this day. So I want to buy real estate, but it's going to take me 2 to 3 years before I can ever even start buying real estate. That was the discouraging part.
Yeah. Almost looking at where you want to be, but it's over a fence and across the river. You're like, oh, dang. Yeah. I got to learn to climb and I got to learn to swim before I can even get there. Yeah. I can see why that would be discouraging. So what did you do?
I did what I didn't know what to do. So I just kept doing the same thing, but just kept listening to any podcast, anything that would give me hope of something better, whether that was mindset related, but most of it was about real estate, different real estate investors, how they bought different properties. And it just kept giving me hope that this is going to be me. I need to get a credit card. So I went in and ended up getting a credit card. Then I was going to try to get a bank loan for a car to start building up my credit, but then I got denied from that. So I'm like, well, just keep building my credit. And in the meantime, just try to learn as much as I can about real estate. So I just continued doing the same thing for month after month after month for nearly 2 years. I just continued to do that.
Wow.
And which is a long time.
It sure is. How old were you by then?
So I just turned 26 in August. So I would have been
now
20. Yep. So a couple months ago. So I'd have been 22 probably when I first read the book. And so it may have been a year and a half that I continued to do that. Just listen and listen and listen. And I would talk to people about real estate and how I was going to get started. But no one else that I've talked to knew anything more than me. For them, it was the same. You got to get a bank loan.
Yep.
Go buy a house.
Yep. So how did that change?
The brother that got me to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he was watching a lot of YouTube stuff in the wintertime, and he said, "Hey Rex, I found a YouTube video of this guy doing like really cool stuff. I think it would really help you." I said, "Yeah, send it to me. I'll watch it." So he sent me this video, and I sat down and started watching it, a 16-hour video.
Oh, okay. Say no more. It had to be Pace. Was it Pace?
It was.
It's amazing that he used to do that long lives on YouTube.
Yep.
Whew, amazing. You must have been blown away, right? Like for 16 hours to watch all this information that you're like, this guy is in the realm and he's doing things like I could do that.
It was so mind-blowing. Previously, I bought stuff with seller finance, owner finance stuff. I bought our home place. I bought vehicles. I bought equipment. I never connected that to real estate investing. I never made that connection. The thing that blew my mind the most is that I could take over the payments on someone else's loan. Just totally blew my mind. I got sucked into that video. I watched that video, and then I told Katrina, I said, this is the way we are going to make this happen. It was, and I use the analogy as it was like the Red Sea. There was this big old sea in front of me, and I needed to get across. I don't know how to swim. I have nothing to build a boat. And that was going to be the credit, the bank loans, all of that stuff. That was going to be learning how to swim, building a boat. And all of a sudden, the sea just parted. And there was a dry path to walk through.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. It's amazing the effect that Pace has on us. And he affects everybody a little differently. But that is really incredible. I hope you've told him that.
Oh, I have.
Good. Awesome. So then you started following him, and was he doing SubTo at that point?
Yes, this was December of 2022.
Okay.
So about 2 years ago.
I was already in the
So
group.
a month. Yep. A month later, I joined SubTo. So I joined SubTo January of 2023.
How was that?
There was such a big mindset thing to overcome. I've never paid anyone to teach me stuff.
Because
everything has always just been I learned it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten pretty good at things that I just learned myself. So I'm like, why do I pay someone money to teach me stuff? I'll go learn it myself. The information's everywhere. Well, it is everywhere, but there's something different about actually investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm. And
So
also joining the community.
You're in a community. It took me a month of fighting with myself to talk myself into, okay, this is okay. If I spend this money, I'm guaranteed to learn something. Either I'm going to buy real estate, I'm going to learn more about real estate, or I'm going to learn that this whole thing was a scam. Right. Whatever way it is, I'm going to learn something.
Right, exactly. I agree with you on that. I think that, what he tells us about might be hard to really understand, but and believe. But once you've done it, then you're like, okay, I think that, this was well worth it. I'm lucky. And then you're in with other people and you're not by yourself, because that part probably went a long ways with you. If no one in your family was doing it, no one in the community was doing it that you knew, then, it's hard, because it's like wanting to be an astronaut, and go to Mars. If you don't know anybody who's doing it until you meet other astronauts, you would think it'd be so much harder.
Yes, that is so what you just said there, just spot on. There was no one in my family doing it. No one I knew that was doing what I wanted to do. And it felt like I was trying to just kind of plow through this brush by myself, kind of trying to blaze this trail by myself, figuring this stuff out as I go, versus when I joined the community, and it did take a bit, but I began to build relationships and realize, wow, there's Effie. She's on the other side of the world and she's doing the same thing I'm doing.
That's right. I would have been in Vancouver at that time.
Yeah, but I can bounce stuff off of her. I can call her. I can ask her questions. Um, maybe I can do a deal with her. Maybe she knows more than I do here. It just really opened my mind to made me realize how important community was, even though I already knew it, because I tried and tried and tried to find someone locally that I could go shadow for the day, that I could go hang out with for a day, help them on their stuff, and no one. I found one guy that was doing fix and flips that met with me at 9:30 at McDonald's on an evening. We sat down and talked for 2 hours. Really nice guy. I said, "Hey, I'll come help you do whatever. I'll cut a tree down for you for free. Whatever. Just let me hang out with you for the day. See what you do." And nothing, nothing, nothing. Why? He already had his routine. I was going to be in his way. I was going to slow him down. And I get that and I understand that. And so there was nobody local that I knew. No local meetups, no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was probably little care about the fact that you were at the very beginning.
Yes.
For those of you who are watching this in the future, we're at the very last day of September, and Pace has just started the No One Left Behind challenge. And, that goal is to make sure that everyone in SubTo gets a goal, gets at least one deal. Well, I'm almost jealous that I didn't start now. But the point is, because it takes a lot to get your first deal. So, like, I had one young lady who called me and she wasn't sure what she was going to do. And she wanted advice and thought she might go into co-living, but had never done anything. And I said, nope, don't do any of that. Just go to, No One Left Behind. And I reached out to her today. She says, oh, best advice ever. I said, yeah. So that sense of the community, and also our own obligation that as we take a couple of steps, we should turn around and lend a hand. I mean, many, many people are doing that. I know that you are. Most people I have met have given. And being a giver is part of being, of the community to grow. So once you got in there and you started, after the initial part of meeting people, what did you do? What was the first way that you made? Well, I should ask, have you done a deal?
Yes, I have done multiple deals. We will
talk to us about what they are and how you got them. Yes,
so
Gino, pass the torch.
They are single family homes.
Mhm.
One of them has a second unit on the same property.
Like an ADU?
So, yep, it's an ADU on the same property.
Mhm.
We will close our 10th property tomorrow, I think it is, our 10th house.
Wow. You are way, way ahead of me, buddy. I think that's fantastic. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, when you say we're going to close on our 10th house, are you and Katrina? Are you JVing or partnering? How did you get to 10 so fast?
A lot of work, relentless work. So it's me and Katrina, and then I bring in private money lenders on all of our properties as well, except for this one. This one we were going to close middle of October. We had a family needing it sooner, so we just bumped up closing. We're just going to close it and then bring a lender in afterward and basically pull our money back out of the deal just to try to get that family into a property ASAP.
Okay, cool. So will they be renting it, or is it going to be a wrap or a lease to purchase, or what are you going to do with it?
We own a corporate housing company here in Idaho. So basically everything we have are corporate rentals.
Nice. Nice. How's that working for you?
It's going well, going very well.
How did you get connected with the corporations?
A lot of phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Phone calls, door knocking, all of the above. All of the work that nobody wants to do.
I understand. I do. I understand, but that's pretty awesome. So talk to me a little bit about what are you working towards? Where do you want to be in, let's say, the future?
So our goal within 2 to 3 years is to be able to house 300 families every month.
Wow. 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 Sorry, did I say wow enough? Be able to house how many?
300.
Wow. And are you going to stick with corporate housing?
Yes. Midterm rentals, corporate housing.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that needs a furnished place for 30 days or more.
Wow. Okay. Well, let me see. I think that is pretty cool. And there you go. Now it's on the internet forever.
Perfect.
It is now September of 2024. Let's make sure that within 3 years you're doing it. I'm sure you will be. That's awesome. Very, very nice. It's interesting when you get your focus, because focus can really focus can turn sunshine into fire, right? It can be very, very good. And I think that's fantastic that you have found your path on that. But why bother? Like, what do you want all this money for? Or why do you want to help people?
So for me, I want to own a ranch with my family. So we sold the one we had, moved to town, sacrificed everything we had previously to build a business. There's a lot of families out there who need temporary housing. This is a way I can supply that for so many people, while also I can continue to buy real estate, helping families out on the real estate side of things. They need to sell a house. I have keys to someone's home right now, and we already have the home pretty much furnished. She's in Oregon. I haven't bought her house yet. I've been taking care of her house for the last few weeks because she moved out of town, so I was really able to help her out, and then we will buy her house. It'll be the one we'll close on in a couple days, and then it'll help her out there. So for me, I can help out so many people by building this business.
Nice.
And the corporate housing company is just something we enjoy. So whether it's co-living, whether it's fix and flips, whatever it is, if you enjoy it, just grow a big business from it.
Yeah.
And we just made our second hire the other day. So now we have 2 people hired.
Oh, do tell.
I didn't even hire her, so it was our operations manager that hired her. So we hired an operation or COO, I don't know what the correct title is for sure, and hired her. And she said, "Hey Rex," after she was here with us for a month, she said, "Hey Rex, we need another person. This is where we're going. These are the goals. These are what we're trying to hit by a year, 2 years. We need to get another person now because I'm getting too busy. I need to start passing this stuff off." So I've only talked to her a few times, but she works with Katrina and with Whitney. So her name is Tiffany, but she works with Whitney and Katrina most of the time.
So Whitney is your COO?
Yes.
How did you find her?
So funny thing, I didn't. So this is about this who, not how kind of thing.
Right.
So we hired TC Collective to come in and build out a bunch of systems in our business, systems and processes. So we hired them on a 90-day contract. They came in and built out a bunch of stuff. And the goal was for them to find us someone to kind of take over what they're doing and continue as a long-term team member.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the ones who found Whitney. She's also a part of.
When they did the initial consulting and analyzation of your business, when they were ready to pass it back to you, they also put you in touch with Whitney?
Yep. So they did the initial interview. So Whitney is also a part of Elite TC. along with
Okay.
Tiffany. So
Oh,
um,
nice.
so they found Whitney through the initial applications and interviewing, and then Whitney said, "Hey, we need to find someone else. I have a couple people in mind." I said, "That's why you're here, Whitney. You know what needs to happen. I don't. If that's what you think needs to happen, let's make it happen."
So, are they like employees?
So they are independent contractors, is what I would call them, as
Okay.
like
So
like
this.
an independent contractor. We
All
are
right. So
paying
when.
them on an hourly basis.
Okay. And as long as there's work, as long as the company's growing, then you're going to renew. How long is their contract when you say independent contractor?
So so we,
And is
instead
that a
of having it as an
1099?
employee and have, yeah, 1099.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the way to say it. So initially it's 90 days reevaluate, because we want them to be happy working with us, and we want to be happy working with them. And I have absolutely loved it so far. I'm like, let's not change anything. Let's just keep bringing team members on because we keep getting busier and busier. So, so it's reevaluate after 90 days, but hopefully they are long term.
Well, that's pretty cool. And with you and Katrina, of course, you're going to take your salary, whatever you want to call it, take money for your life as you can, or as you see fit. But if things get tight, maybe you'll have to tighten your own belt,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd probably have to tighten your own actually after or before you tighten theirs if you find them that valuable.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So what does Tiffany do on a daily basis, and what does Whitney do? Like, talk about the chores and goals they have on a daily basis.
To be honest, I don't know what they do on a daily basis. So that's a lot of where I'm very much just I'm building relationships, I'm making new connections, buying properties, raising capital, that type of things. I'm doing Katrina was doing more of the operation side of it. So really a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the stuff they're doing is offloading stuff off of her plate, even though we keep getting busier and busier, and her plate is staying full, but she keeps offloading stuff off of her plate to
I
them.
gotcha. Okay.
So for me to explain like what exactly they're doing, I don't know. I
That's
know they're
okay.
just kind of running my life, which is what I like.
Nice. Nice. Well, I had told you when we talked about you coming on the podcast, I do think that as a couple, you guys are very fortunate because there's two of you. So, then you can support each other, kick each other in the butt, we'll do whatever is necessary to help the other person out. You're not alone. Yeah, I think that that's awesome that you can continue to be the visionary and that Katrina can take care of the operations. That's a nice setup. How many
And
children do you have?
we have two, a
Nice.
3-year-old and a 11-month-old.
Wow. Are they in the business?
And I want to say, they're always in our business. They're
In the
always
business.
in our business.
Got it. Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny. So your life has changed a lot. I mean, here you are, you're already working with corporations, doing the midterm. You've hired a couple of people. You know where you're going. That's a big difference than how the heck do I get in? I can't swim. I don't have a boat. That's a huge
Yes.
difference. So how do you deal with newbies? Because you haven't been in that long yourself.
No, I haven't been. And something I want to go back and touch on just a little bit too is we mentioned getting dialed in, getting focused. That is key number one. This may be an unpopular opinion, but don't try to do two things. Don't try to do living and midterm rentals or short-term rentals or whatever. Pick one exit strategy. If you're buying properties and gonna hold properties long-term, pick one exit strategy, buy a property, get it stabilized, buy the next one, and then so on. This is not what I did, and I learned from it too. I did get focused when getting into real estate, as far as like, how am I going to get my first deal? My first deal came from posting posts on social media. 4 months later, it came back and got me a deal.
That's
which
great.
was pretty cool. But then after that, buying deals, I had to get focused on one thing. And Katrina helped me to get focused on one thing. She started calling real estate agents. She would call them, talk to them for a little bit and say, hey, I'm going to have my husband call you back later. And then I'm like, well, shoot, now I have to call this person back. So I started calling real estate agents. She would pull the list and I would go through and make the calls. I wouldn't even look at a duplex, triplex, nothing. Single family homes, low equity only. Nothing at all. No fix and flips, no nothing. I wouldn't look at them. I wouldn't call about them. I would gracefully delete them off my list because she would try to sneak them in every now and then, delete them off my list, and would never look at them.
But where did you get that wisdom?
I don't know, just because when I would get dialed in on something, my calls would start getting better. When I would call an agent, that call would go farther, go longer. I would be able to overcome objections. When I would call a seller, that was different. When I called about a duplex, that's a little bit different than a single family home.
Yep.
When I called about something that needed fixed up, that's even different. So when I got dialed in on one, then I just started calling and calling and calling. And my goal was to buy houses. So what did I do? I just kept calling. And I owned 4 properties before I made a penny from real estate. I hadn't made
4 properties before you made any money.
Before I made any money from real estate, I owned 4 properties.
Okay, people, listen.
They say third
carefully.
time's the charm. It was 4th time the charm.
Yeah, but I really would like to spend a few minutes stressing that, because I think that people who are just starting out or who are not in the business would hear 4 houses. Oh my God, you've got to be supporting yourself and taking holidays. They don't, first, they don't understand how much work goes into it and how much time it will take, although your trajectory has been pretty fast, but also how long it is before you get money out. That is a real misconception of real estate, because people think, oh, you own real estate? Oh, you must be rich, or you don't have to work. Look, you stay at home and all that. And I think that the picture needs to be brought into focus a little bit more, that you better get ready to work your tush off doing things you're not comfortable with, really working hard and having the door slammed on your face or in your face. And then, it takes a while before you actually can get any money out. How you have 10 now, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
At what point could you support the family? How many houses did it take to support the family?
We make a living off of our real estate business. We have for the last quite a while. So
how many did you have before you were like, okay, now we are paying all our bills, not just making a money? Because when you get that first dollar, you're like, I gotta frame it. This came from real estate. But to pay all your bills and say, we're cool and we've been cool for a while now. We're going to be cool. How many houses were you at before you felt that way?
So it's a little bit, and I don't want to give anybody false hope here because I know
Okay,
there's a
that's
lot of
fine.
false hope out there.
Right.
By owning the real estate isn't necessarily what got us to financial freedom, if you want to call it that way, or supporting ourselves. Our corporate housing company that we built a business over here, and we're continuing to build this business. That is bringing in money. The real estate is making us money, but all of our tenants are being fed to our real estate business through this other business that we have. So we
Got
are
it.
capitalizing on owning the real estate, but also owning the other business that is now finding the tenants for the property and managing the properties. So we have
So
two
your
different
corporate,
businesses.
yeah. So your corporate management company, did you get that at the same time as you started buying properties? Did you do it right away?
No, so I was told I wanted to buy properties. So I started buying properties. No one told me I was supposed to go rent the properties out. So here I had 4 properties.
I'm
None of
sorry.
these,
I'm sorry. That's hysterical.
none of
Just
these
take a
properties.
loss on them every month.
It's like, come on, people. Why didn't you tell me this? No.
That's funny.
We had 4 properties before we got any properties rented. And then we just rented them to whatever we could get into the properties. And then we started realizing, okay, we don't like this. We don't like this. This is okay. We do enjoy this, but we really enjoy this one here. And that's when we really started the business. So really we started the business this year. Towards the first part of this year is when we really started the corporate housing company.
Nice. Was it at the same time as you had joined Owners Club, or like where did you get that? Did you just figure it out? Like this is the one that makes sense for us, or was it part of the guidance you had?
No, it was just something we figured out because we had co-living properties, we had long-term rentals, we had short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, we had all of it.
Did you change the co-living and the long-term to corporate
So
housing?
the co-living we did change it to corporate. We do have 2 long-term rentals still, which are just kind of in some outskirt towns. So they work better for those particular properties. They work better as just long-term rentals.
Mm-hmm. But the co-living one, did you have to convert that house into co-living, and did you convert it back?
We converted it into co-living.
Yeah.
And then I took off one door. I was going to remove walls. So I converted it into co-living. I had an angry, and I didn't permit this stuff. I had an angry tenant that called code enforcement. Code enforcement came out there, walked the property. And this was during like Squat Up Summit, right before Squat Up Summit. And I'm like, hey guys, talk to code enforcement. I'm like, hey, I'm going out of town. I'll give you a call back in a couple weeks when I'm back. They're like, sounds good. We didn't end up getting it all resolved, so to speak, until August. And they were good with it. They're easy to deal with. It was a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I turned the half bath into a full bath and added 2 more bedrooms. So I just took one of the bedroom doors off and said, hey, we're going to permit this as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Okay.
So
and they're
that's
okay with that?
Yep. So they walked through it and they passed it at that. So we're all permitted and everything.
Nice. Nice. Good to know. Good to know. So that one has all been changed into corporate housing also.
Yes.
Good. Good. I like the fact that you kind of honed in and you know what you're doing now. I think that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about, you joined Owners Club, and for those of you who don't know, Owners Club is a subset of, well, it's not exactly a subset, but most people are either in SubTo or Gator or TC, a subset of PACE's followers. In other words, if you know who PACE is, most people already belong to something. There's the odd person that just joined directly, but not very many. So you have joined Owners Club, which is really, really helpful, I'm sure. Did you join any other kind of mentorships?
I have joined another mentorship as well. I joined it last fall, actually, in October. So about a year ago, I joined a second mentorship called the Growth Co. of Jesse
Okay,
Stanton.
very nice. And do you have any plans to join any others?
I'm sure I will. I'm very focused on our business right now and growing this, but in order to grow it, I have to also invest in myself.
Yep.
So I'm looking at I'm looking at a couple right now, but I haven't joined anything else right now. We're still just
Okay.
trying to figure out what's the best for me for the next steps.
Good. Good. That sounds really nice. And with out of curiosity, with Growth Co, is that a yearly thing or is it a one time like SubTo?
So it's a one time.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think it was an 8-week course or a 12-week course, but
Nice.
part of it forever. I can go into the bonus Zooms and stuff.
Good. Very nice indeed. Very nice indeed. Talk to us about how you get your lending, how you get your funds.
Really just relationships, building relationships. My first private money lender was on the house that I'm setting in, my personal residence. And normally, personal residence, people don't lend on a personal residence. Um, but they did. They believed in our story. They believed in our vision. They believed in where we wanted to go.
Cool.
Pace told me he would be a lender on it if need be.
Okay.
But he didn't need to be. He helped me to find someone else to be a
Nice.
lender on it. So far it's just been relationships. I'm on social media. I'm posting about what we're doing. I'm sharing about what we're doing. What are our visions? What are our goals? What are we trying to get to, And that's where everything's came from so far I have got them through connectors. So I have paid connectors for raising the funds for me as well.
Okay. 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 I have just displayed Rex's social media. I've noticed from when I first met you till now, you're really gearing it up, which is nice because you're very photogenic and it's a good thing to do. More people will get to know what you're doing. So his IG is pretty active. And I encourage everyone to go ahead and follow him, but also take the time to go to YouTube and, hit follow, because with YouTube, he has very little. He's just, he's just starting. He has it ahead of him still. And by you joining, you'll pressure him to produce content. you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, I've noticed that people either have a lot of content and then they go, follow me, follow me, follow me. And people start following and they're like, yeah, he's got content. Or they do what you've done, where they just get up there and they slowly start doing something, but they're not really seeking followers actively yet, like you are on IG. So I would love it, guys, if you go and help him get to that first, 200, 400, 500. I remember. So you will get there too. And then that will bring you a whole lot more in the way of, you know, exposure and relationships for sure. For sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, I think that you had said to me in one conversation, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you were interested in kind of potentially guiding other people. I'm going to ask you this. For someone who's just starting out or is, doing that whole thing where they're trying to figure out, how do I get over there? I'm over here and I don't have any of that stuff. They're just starting out. What advice would you give them?
My advice would be, try to get dialed in on what you're doing, what you want to do. Why did you get into real estate? Why do you want to do real estate? Really ask that question to yourself. Why do I want to become a real estate investor? Why do I want to do real estate? Is it because you want to wholesale? Not likely. Is it because you want to buy and hold properties? Most likely. For me, I've never done any wholesaling at all because that is not why I got into real estate. My goal getting into real estate was to buy and hold properties. So my suggestion would be ask yourself that question. 99% of the time, it's going to be because I want to buy and hold real estate. So then start figuring out, what am I going to do with this real estate when I buy and hold it, when I hold on to it? How am I going to make this real estate make sense? And maybe talk to some people. And you're not going to know. You may have to pivot like I did. I went and did stuff, and then I had to pivot when I found what I wanted to do. And then get around the people that are doing what you want to do. Go to all the meetups. Get in the Zooms. Go to paid events. Invest in yourself. That is what will get you there.
Okay, so from what I hear, two key things. Ask, why do you want to get into real estate? And I agree. I think most people would say they want to have real estate. They want to own real estate. And then I'm hearing exit strategy. Like, what are you going to do with it? What do you want to do with this, property? And for some, they may say, oh yeah, Airbnb is still going. I love Airbnb, whatever. Others may, because they want to travel with their Airbnb or whatever. So serving that, satisfying that need of doing something that you like with it will serve you well in the long run.
And I also want to add something on there too. Don't be afraid. Everybody's different. I'm the type of person that I'm too lazy to reach down and feel if the water's cold. I will jump in the water, figure out if it's cold or not, and if it is, then I'll swim out. And that sometimes that is the best for some people. You don't have to know everything. I am only a year ahead of the person who is first starting out. A year and a half ago, I was still living in a fifth wheel RV. I was still cutting trees. Wow. Less than a year and a half ago. A year and a few months ago. So I'm only a year ahead of the person who's just starting out. It doesn't take that long to get in there and start doing things. Just don't let the fear of not knowing hold you back. Go do something. Go make a mistake. I made so many mistakes, and I'll continue to make mistakes. But that is what got me to where I am today, are the mistakes that I made.
Very interesting indeed. So, guys, you have the contact information. Feel free to reach out through IG and or YouTube. But especially if you're a newbie, Sorry, Chino is so wonderful. I love him. Our one brother that doesn't make mistakes.
So my recommendation is follow Chino.
Yeah, follow Chino, guys. Yeah, anybody who buys the Prius that got wrecked, that didn't have insurance, and restores it because it belonged to Pace and because it was a special Prius, yeah, go follow him. That was very wise, but interesting. Well, I'd like to thank you all. So Chino says, no, don't follow me. Go follow Pace Morby. Okay. Well, if you don't know who Pace Morby is, definitely follow him. But I'd like to thank very, very much Rex for coming. And I'd like to also thank the audience and to say we'll see you all next week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rex.
Thank you.